If you've been following me, you're probably working on improving your bone health, and you're probably doing more exercise than you have in a long time, or ever, potentially, with weights and training. So now that we're pushing ourselves, me included, I would like to encourage us to think of ourselves as an athlete. Now, I don't think very many of us are going to get paid to do sports, but if you think about it like this, when you think of like a star player, think of a player in whatever sport you like, football, soccer, whatever. How do you treat that star player? Do you give them a coach? Check. And sometimes you give them like 3 coaches. You give them basically whatever they need to keep performing at their best. Some of these players have their own physical therapist. They have their own massage therapist. They have all of the tools that they need, right? So when it comes to optimizing bone health, optimizing our capacity to perform, which is ultimately what we're doing, we need to remember that we need to recover too. So just like an athlete between games, we need to recover too. I think this is generally misrepresented in osteoporosis plans. We look at the doing, not the not doing. And I am totally guilty of this myself, to be fair. But we need to consider ourselves as the star athlete in our own game, and we need to give ourselves the tool to do that. So I want to introduce you to a tool that I've started using that can help me recover. I've really been using it on my calf and on my Achilles. I've had this chronic Achilles tendonitis. And that tool is called a massage gun or a percussion gun. So I think that these devices, I've seen them around for a long time. I've seen physical therapists use them. I've seen a bunch of home devices that are available now. And in fact, the device that I want to talk to you about is available on Amazon, and it's relatively inexpensive. Early on when I saw these, they were pretty expensive. So it was kind of a turnoff for me. They felt good, but I didn't want to spend the money. But now that there's less expensive models, I think it's worth looking into the literature behind this. Is there evidence to say that it's doing what we think it's doing? What do the experts say about it? So I want to walk through some of that evidence. I want to walk through how it could potentially help someone who is training harder than they've ever trained before, how I use it, and then I want to walk through one specific device that I want to introduce you to that I think is a really good deal. So stick around for the end for that. All right, so again, what I'm talking about are these things called, again, massage gun, percussion devices, whatever you want to call them. They're going to be a small device, hopefully small enough that you can hold on to, and they're going to essentially just move up and down like this one does. And I think you can probably see this in the video. The head just moves up and down, and it probably looks funny on the video, but it goes up and down really fast. And so what you can do with these things is to apply them to areas where you're struggling to recover, soreness, especially any kind of subtle injury. If you're having a significant issue, a real injury, an orthopedic injury, please seek advice. But from a recovery perspective, this I found to be really helpful. Now, like I said, there used to be not as many options. There used to be more like commercial size options. Like this is one that I've had for a long time. Got this as part of a practice, and it is a beast. It works, but it's very large. The battery doesn't last very long. There's other, smaller versions. This is a commercial version from another company. And so I've played around with a lot of these things, but the challenge has always been price point, and then what's the benefit from a price perspective? Is this something that you can use at home? Is it worth the value, or should you spend your money somewhere else? I like to look at this too, now that we're getting more into this whole body vibration thing. I see the benefit of whole body vibration, and so then I see this potentially working not in the same way, so I'm not saying it's the same technology, but working in the same way where vibration works to shear tissues. And I think that we can use that to our advantage, and I'll talk about that at the end. So I dug into the literature behind this because I wanted to bring something to you that was evidence-based, as I always do. What I was surprised to find is that there's really not a lot of evidence, meaning that there's not a group of people that have a specific injury that have been treated with this thing and it has shown an outcome. There is some evidence though. And so the tissues are moving. You can see the impact of the percussion instrument, and it's moving tissues over tissues. When it does that, it's going to increase blood flow. It's moving the fascia, or the layers that contain the muscles. Not a lot, but it's moving them some. And you're going to move it in a way that you wouldn't otherwise, with a static stretch or even with a warm-up exercise. It's also moving fluid. It's moving lymph. It's moving metabolic waste. Now, there is a lot more evidence on shockwave therapy. So shockwave therapy, again, is a different type of technology. It's much more intense. I used to use it in the foot and ankle world, and would actually put people under anesthesia to do it. So definitely wouldn't recommend doing that at home. But it's a similar idea where you're applying a shock wave, and then the results of that shock wave are moving the tissues, all the things that I just said. So then there is some evidence with this type of therapy showing frequency of use, opinions, how to use it, duration recommendations, and so forth, but not a lot of good intervention studies. So I wish I could say that it's going to do X for Y, but we don't have that. But I'm still bringing it to you because I do hear from people that they're having a hard time recovering. They're unable to continue to exercise because of soreness, because of, and again, not acute injury, but chronic injury. And I think this might be helpful for some people. If you're struggling with those things, I would encourage you to work with a therapist or a doctor first before using this as your own tool. But I use it as part of a recovery day. Now, today for me was a recovery day, and I haven't done the mobility part yet, but I am working hard on myself to put these days in of sauna, cold therapy, mobility, and these modalities. So the modalities of whole body vibration, percussion instruments, and it's helping me to be able to really increase my volume, even though I'm actually having to pull back a little bit, but I'm increasing my volume on the days that I do train because I'm not getting injured. I am not pushing myself so hard that the muscles are not able to recover, but I'm also improving their recovery. What's cool about these things too is that it only takes a couple of minutes. So in the literature that I did pull up, they talked about the recommendations that therapists are doing with these things, and it's about 2 to 5 minutes once a day. Now, you could probably do it more, but I don't know that more is necessarily better either. Again, we don't have great research here, but 2 to 5 minutes, pretty easy. And again, for me, I've had this chronic Achilles tendon so tight in the bottom part of my calf. So I've been using this to really drive down into those tissues, really get into the fascial planes underneath that. And every time I do it, immediately I feel better. And then, it's been this back and forth for a long time. But I'm finally to the point now where I can actually start to train dynamically. So I think I'm on the other side of it. And I think this thing really did help me get through that. All right, so let me talk about this device. So this device is called the Q2 Mini Massage Gun, and it's available on Amazon, and it is relatively inexpensive compared to its peers. So when I looked at it on Amazon, it was $69.99. I've seen a little coupon code for $10 off, which you could add to that. I have another 10% code that you could use. It's in the description here on YouTube. And so what I like about this is that it's small. You can travel with it, you can take it anywhere, and it's very solid. So whenever I have a cool device like this, my kids like to steal it from me, and they will use it. They'll just like turn it on and just set it down on a table and let it run forever. That's how kids are. And what I've been impressed with is that they haven't been able to break it yet. And I've had this thing for, a couple of months so far. And if they haven't been able to break it, then you're probably pretty good. The other ones that I showed you are all broken. So I definitely know how to break these things. So in full disclosure, they did send me this product, but the reason why I'm making this video is because I've been waiting to make a video like this until I found the right product, because trying to tell somebody to buy this, $500 piece of big equipment, I wouldn't feel good about. But this is a device that I can get behind because it is inexpensive. I think it could really help some people who are looking for that edge in their recovery. So check it out. If not, totally fine. I just want you to know what it is. If you're going to check it out and you're listening to this on a podcast, you might want to use the code BOBBRAD16. That's BOBBRAD 16, and that'll get you 10% off additional on Amazon. So I hope you found that helpful. And if you're somebody who is struggling to recover, I encourage you to try some type of device like this. And if you thought that this was helpful, you might want to consider this video on the best exercise for osteoporosis or our top 3 foods for osteoporosis. And remember that osteoporosis isn't the end, but deciding to reverse it is a beginning. I'll see you in the next video.